Hello, folks. Happy Friday. Thank you for joining us. I'm sorry I was running late. For some reason, I had 2:30 and Conrad was calling me like crazy. Come on, let's go. So I'm sorry that we were running late, but we have a good amount of information for you today. We want to be as interactive as possible. So hopefully some of you will ask some questions, send us your Google Analytics, and Conrad will jump in. So what we were waiting on Mobilegeddon may not turn out to be. So Conrad's going to fill us in, give us a little information on that, and let's see how it works out. And thank you again for joining us. I appreciate all of you logging on and answering my emails and sending your feedback. At the end of the webinar, we'll also be asking what other topics of interest you have that we may be covering and additional speakers that Conrad and I can interview for you guys. So we look forward to a good webinar. Thanks again for joining us. Conrad, you're on, dude.
All right, thank you very much. So first thing, Alex, you gotta share your screen so they can see mine, and then I'll hand it over.
Okay.
We're gonna walk through some stuff in real life, live, and what I really want everyone to do is have the ability to open up. If you have Google Analytics, log in right now, and I'm going to walk you through how to go in assessing how mobile's impacted you or not. So there's really three components to this. The first is my site mobile friendly, and we're going to walk through a very simple tool to assess that. The second is I want to show you in Google Analytics how to look at and evaluate what's going on for you. And the third is we're going to look at a study across 59, I think, different law firms before April 21st, after April 21st, and you will see my skepticism on all of this. Finally, please interrupt with questions. The questions make this really, really helpful. Alex, I still can't share my screen. You might want to turn me over to presenter.
Okay.
There you go. And then we'll share this, and I can walk everyone through exactly what we've done and what they should be looking at. So again, please ask questions, and I'm happy to answer them. There is the Q&A functionality on the GoToWebinar control panel. Ask through there. Alex will monitor that and interrupt me when appropriate, and we can answer questions specifically. So the first thing, let's get this out of here, I want to show you is how to assess whether or not your site or a competitor's site is mobile friendly. And the easiest way to do that, surprisingly enough, is through the Google Mobile Friendly Test tool. And the easiest way to find that is to, in fact, go to Google and look for Google Mobile Friendly Tool or something of the like, and you'll come up with this domain. So the very simple thing to do is grab your website. Let's check these guys out. And we're going to take their domain, plop it in here, and run it through the Google Mobile Friendly Test. Now, it's very important to notice, oh, look, yay, very good. They have a mobile friendly
Nice
site.
job.
And the thing to remember is that this is a page-level test, okay? And so it doesn't necessarily mean that they've crawled the entire site and everything on the entire site looks wonderful. What they've done is look at this specific page. In some cases, we find sites, some of which are mobile friendly and some of which are not mobile friendly. So a perfect example of that might be if you have clunked a blog onto your website that's based on WordPress and that is mobile friendly, but the rest of your site is hand built and it's not mobile friendly. So specifically with blogs, any additional platforms, I would probably try different areas of your site to see whether or not everything falls out as a mobile friendly issue. The search engines have talked about this being a page level impact, not a domain wide thing. What does that mean? It means that if you have some pages that are good and some pages that are bad, the bad pages will be effective and the good ones will stay. Frequently when they roll out these penalties, they will do what's called a domain wide penalty, where it's like, okay, you've got 50% of your content looks like it's duplicate content, but we're going to whack the entire site. That's not the case here. So very easy way to tell whether or not your site is mobile friendly. The next thing that we want to do is I want to show you exactly what you should look at when it comes down to looking at your analytics. What are the reports that you should be looking at? How do you use Google Analytics to determine whether or not your site has been negatively impacted by this change? And what we'll walk through here is exactly that. So this is Google Analytics for our domain. And what I'm looking at right now is over the last month, all of the sessions coming into my site. What I want to do is I want to look at only mobile sessions coming into my site. And so what I'm going to show you how to do here very simply is to add a segment. And you get this little box that pops up. Oh, and by the way, that screen that I just showed you, that's your default screen when you log in, probably. Audience overview. So you're going to add a segment, and down here they've made it very easy. You're going to pick mobile traffic, click apply, and all of a sudden we have two bars, okay? The blue bar is all of my traffic, and the orange bar represents my mobile traffic. Now what you'll see here is that 17.8% of our traffic comes from mobile devices out of the whole, okay? And so one of the things that I want you to do is we want to only look at mobile traffic. So we're going to get rid of the all sessions, and now we're only looking at mobile traffic. And the trick here is to look at that specific date, April 21st, which is right here, and see what changed. And as you can see, it looks like, you know, we were bumping along in the high teens, and now we're probably bumping along in the low 20s. So it looks like there may have been some kind of impact. It's not huge, but what I would do is probably look at 8 weeks back and then look at, you know, a week's worth of data and see whether you're up or down. Any questions on how to go about doing this while we're here?
You can use the question box or the chat box.
So the next thing that I want to do to look more specifically at natural search traffic, because this is all mobile traffic, I want to look at natural search traffic because that's where the change has been. So we're going to drill a little bit deeper into our website, but we're going to keep this mobile traffic segment. So I'm only looking at mobile traffic while we do this. And I'm going to go down and look under acquisition, all traffic, and channels. Okay, this will show all of the different channels that we have sending traffic to my site from the mobile segment. And when we come down, we'll see organic search. So we're going to click on organic search, and now we have a much better view as to what happened after April 21st. Okay, so this is showing a mobile segment only looking at organic search traffic. So you can see that up here. We've got organic search traffic up here. We've got segment add out to only look at mobile traffic. You can see here that roughly 8% of our traffic overall comes from mobile devices doing natural search. And if you look, you can probably say, hey, you know, and these are small numbers here, right? But I'm pretty confident that after April 21, we look like we may have had a slight bump upwards. And if you want to look a little bit more carefully, you can go back. So let's go all the way back to the beginning of February, and we'll try and get a full week in here. And we're going to organize by week. Really what I'm looking for is this type of jump. Okay, and you can see that that happens right here's April 21, and we're staying up. So it looks like this is moving in a direction that makes me happy. Any questions on the GA side of this? And you can, once you make this segment for mobile traffic in GA, like it's unlimited what you can actually do. It's really, really powerful. You can look at all sorts of things in here just by your mobile traffic. I'll show one other piece that I really like to look at. That is, where is this mobile traffic coming from geographically, or the site content that it's looking at? What are the pages that it's landing on? Okay, so you can look down under behavior, site content, landing pages. This will tell you where your mobile traffic is landing, and you can see exactly where this comes in. Okay, very, very, very powerful, very easy to use stuff. Let's go back to the mobile-friendly test tool, and I'll give you an example of a site. This is going to take a little while to run it. The test tool tends to barf when it runs into sites that it doesn't like. Remember to come back to this, and I'll show you what it looks like when it's not mobile-friendly. Okay, so that is a really easy way to look at your traffic from a mobile perspective and see what's going on. So the question is, okay, Conrad, thank you very much. What happened across law firms? What happened? Is this a big deal? Is it a little deal? And what we found is it's kind of a snoozer. Um, this is so we did a study across 59 sites, and we aggregated all of that data, right? So small sites that had a huge, one or two or three um, session change would have a really large percentage change. And so we aggregated all of the data across all of the sites. And for a week after the rollout, after the 21st, we aggregated all of that data and looked at the plus and minus. What we have found, based on slightly limited sample size, is an 8% increase for mobile-friendly sites and a minus 4% or a 4% decrease for mobile unfriendly sites, which frankly is kind of like, we were really expecting the walls to come tumbling down, and it looks like nothing really significant has happened. Now, Google has mentioned specifically that it might take a week and a half for this thing to roll out, but so far this is kind of a bust as far as it goes to all the hype around this and what's happened.
And these are all legal sites, right, Conrad? These are all legal sites.
These are all law firm sites, yeah. And they spread. There's everything from like 150 sessions a week to there's a couple sites in here that are doing well over 1,000. But the big thing here is, if you look at the data, right? If you look at this on here, there's at an individual level you may see some really big changes. Okay. And so I think it's really important to look, and when we looked at our site, the Mockingbird site, we saw, hey, there actually are some pretty big changes there, I think. So it's really important to look at not just the theory of what's going to happen, which in this case it looks like it was grossly overstated, and not just the reports about what happened in aggregate, but really, ultimately, importantly, what you want to know is what's happened for my site, right? And if I'm this guy, if I'm the red guy, right, I'm a mobile unfriendly site and I'm up 40%, like, why is that? What can we do more of to make that happen? Why did that occur? Conversely, if I'm this guy, I want to know what's going on, right? Why? I heard all about this Mobilegeddon, and yet we're down. What's going on here? So that's the results of the study. And I'm at a point where I still think it's inconclusive. I want to wait for another week's worth of data after everything is rolled out. I was publishing these studies every day, and it was kind of a letdown every time we published something because there was nothing really to report. I'm hoping after another week that we have something more interesting and more significant for all the people who had invested in upgrading to a mobile optimized site. So that is the mobile penalty. And again, happy to ask any questions or answer any questions that you have. And I would thoroughly encourage you to get into GA right now while we're talking and see if you can get to this point here where you're looking at the natural state. Let me just walk through this again because it's very important to know how to get here. So we're going to go back to the very beginning, and I will show you. This is what you probably see when you log into GA right now. You see everything, and that's your overall traffic. Okay. So what we're going to do is very quickly add mobile traffic. We're going to get rid of all sessions. Okay. Now we're just segmenting out mobile traffic. And then we're going to go down into acquisition, channels, click on organic search, and now you have your mobile search traffic that's coming into search engines, and a history of that over time. You can adjust the dates over here, right? So we might want to say, let's look at the last 30 days, and that's the way to evaluate what's going on your site. Really, really easy to use, really powerful, and frankly, really underutilized by attorneys. So that's mobile. Now, the one other thing Alex asked me to talk about was the breadcrumbs, which is also an impact to mobile, so we can stay within the mobile theme here. And breadcrumbs is something that rolled out into mobile search results, and it essentially changes the way that your content, the domain for your content, is displayed on a mobile search. And so what you'll see here is it used to be that there was a kind of a URL here, and some of you guys had pretty URLs, and some of you guys had really ugly URLs, and ultimately now what Google is showing is these breadcrumbs. It's a lot more uh,
Organized and user friendly.
it's just prettier,
Yeah,
right?
much prettier.
And you get the brand name up here, right? So now it's just not Google.com. You have Google as your brand name. So that's something that you can think about doing to try and optimize that experience. There are lots of different ways to do this. We work with schema.org to make this happen on the sites that we work with. The best thing I would recommend is run a search for your site on a phone, see what happens. If you don't like what you see, I would probably start working with something like schema.com to improve the way this appears. I don't think this is a big deal. It's just something to be aware of. And finally, and Alex, you and I didn't talk about this, but this is funny. We were joking about this morning in the office. Expedia or TripAdvisor, I think it was Expedia, recently rolled out putting emojis in here, right? So they now have like a little picture of a hotel that shows up right at the beginning. Kind of cute and an interesting way to try and drive clicks. So the question for lawyers becomes, what do we put there? Like, can we do something here? And please don't do this, but we were tossing around like, there's an emoji for a gavel, right? And you could really quickly put a gavel in there. I'm sure it would be really interesting to see if click-through rates change when you have the gavel emoji instead of, just the branding. So it's a little bit off the cuff, but because we're talking about click-throughs on mobiles, I thought it would be something funny to bring
Do me a
up.
favor, Conrad, because you brought up schema, and I meant to make that one of the topics that we talked about when Yvette wrote the article about breadcrumbs and the benefits of it. And although it does look pretty, I know Google has an idea behind it other than the user experience and making it look good. But schema, you brought something very important. I think the audience should know a little bit more about schema, and without going in depth on how they could use it and how important it is. Because I know our followers and our fans have tons of questions, and when it comes down to SEO, they don't really know what an SEO does. I mean, when I went on schema.org the first time, I said, wow, I mean, what is this place? It's a whole nother world for SEO nerds is how I think about it. I was lost, but there is definitely value. The more I kept reading about it and learning about it, it's not anything I would go and implement on my own without a professional, but it's important that they know the power of it and how it can be used and what it can be used without manipulating it.
Right. And really good questions. And so one of the things I try and do is not speak in technical blah, blah, because it turns people off and it makes stuff sound expensive and intimidating. But this is expensive and intimidating, just as you mentioned. The very simple way to understand schema is it is a way to identify pieces of your content and what those pieces of content are. And the simplest way to think about that is a phone number. So you use schema to say this piece of content right here is a phone number. This piece of content here is a business name. This piece of content here is our site structure. And you can do that, and by defining that correctly, you can help the search engines understand what your content is about. One of the obvious ways to do that is with reviews and testimonials. You can say, this piece of content here is a 5-star review, and it should show up as reviews. And so there are a lot of ways to get these breadcrumbs done. I would say, and there, in many cases with SEO, there are a lot of right ways to do things, and there's like 20 times more wrong ways to do things. We tend to use schema. It's kind of the best of breed. It's the easiest to use. It's most widely accepted. And it's something that I would look at. It's one of those things that generally when we take on a site that has been done as a do-it-yourself, that we can quickly add some value to. It is technical. It's I hate to say it, but it is a technical issue, and it's a little bit hard to. I put it this way. It's like a not for beginners, right? Don't do this. Don't go swimming by yourself in this pool.
Excellent. Do we have any questions from the audience? Any requests for additional content on our webinars? Conrad and I, I'll be exhibiting and at Lawyer-nomics next week, so hopefully Conrad and I will be able to get together while we're there and do something live on what they were talking about at Avo and what some of the other experts are talking about. Conrad's going to be interviewed and speaking with the gentleman of the Circle of Legal Trust. So if you're not part of that group, make sure you look it up. Great group of guys. They know their stuff. Conrad, do you have anything to add?
I don't. I mean, we can. I can sit if anyone has any general search questions. This is a pretty quick webinar, and I knew it would be. Unfortunately, oh, here we go. Yeah, we can get you a copy of the webinar later. The sad part here is like there wasn't much to talk about because the algorithm change that everyone got so up in arms about never really happened, which is kind of like it was a bit of a letdown. We to some extent refer to this internally as the website developer employment upgrade to the Google algorithm because we've been working weekends and nights trying to get a bunch of websites up to code, literally up to code, before April 21st. And I apologize to both my employees and the people who spent a bunch of money because, frankly, so far, this looks like a belly flop.
I mean, I still think the whole idea for mobile is very important. I think attorneys should be on. I mean, I would probably, if I wish I had the data of who's actually using their phones, but I use my phone for everything, for search. I would imagine a large percentage of people are using it. If I land on a website, and even some of the larger 500, businesses in the country are not optimized, I immediately bounce off because they don't have the information I want or it's not user-friendly when I get there. So it's still important that you're getting a responsive design, optimizing for mobile. I wouldn't spend a whole bunch of money on it, but I would definitely make it part of the marketing and know that if Google's making an impact on this, even if it's a small one, they have an ulterior motive. Your users are definitely going on mobile. So I would continue on the track of definitely keeping your website responsive. If not, I would move over to that and then continue optimizing, writing content for mobile, making sure it's very simple for someone to find you or contact you through the mobile website.
Yeah, and this is a really good point, right? Well, I'm a search nerd, so I tend to get caught up in what Google's doing, blah, blah, blah. But this is really a usability issue. And Alex, this is really important. And I will give, so this, what follows right now is the most valuable piece of information that we're going to give out today. This is about the user, right? And it's not about the search engine. And one of the things, so just because you're mobile friendly from a technical perspective to keep the Conrads of the world happy and the Googles serving up your content, etc., well done. But there are good mobile friendly sites and there are bad mobile friendly sites, right? And I will give you the worst example is the very, very aggressive implementation of live chat on a mobile phone, okay? And so there are some providers who will put a bar that follows you all over your mobile site, taking up that really expensive real estate, putting a bar over your content in order to get someone to chat, okay? Now, if you are looking at a lawyer's website on your phone, the last thing I want you to do is start chatting with someone who doesn't actually work at the law firm. Make sure that mobile friendly for you means a phone number that is functional that follows you. It's not about chatting, it's about calling. And your conversion for getting people when they call compared to when they chat is a whole function change different. So, we haven't really gotten deep into this, and we probably shouldn't, but usability, very important. Your objective of your mobile website, when someone's on a phone looking at your firm, the objective is to have them call your firm. And that, as far as I'm concerned, that goes way beyond mobile optimization penalties. That goes to basic usability and having your site serve your business needs.
I have a question that may not be targeted to just attorney sites. So, since we own a content company and most of the content that we write is for someone's website, informational, educational, and persuasive. So when someone lands on it, they're going to make a decision to either call or fill out the contact form on an attorney's site. I've been reading things about optimizing the content for mobile. So how technical is it? Because if you do a search and your website's responsive, a specific practice area page is going to be the same practice area page that's fed through desktop. Is there a way to feed a specific mobile page where the content is shorter, quicker? I mean, if I'm on my phone, I don't want to read forever. If I'm at my desktop, I'm obviously probably going to read 700, 1,000 words or more. But on a mobile, 300, 400 words is probably the most I want to read. I want probably a quick call to action as a marketer, but as a user, I want to be able to either pick up the phone, get the information I want, or hurry up and do what I need to do at that point. Is there a way to separate those two?
Yes, yeah, there is, and it's a really good point. This goes back to the usability question, and I would go to the home page. Just because your home page resizes itself doesn't mean that it's mobile friendly, right? One of the most flagrant examples of this is, excuse me, all of Seattle seems to have influenza or something, myself included. Really big home pages, okay? And again, I'm going back to this issue where I want your users to connect with your firm, okay? And a lot of you have failed to put your contact information in the header, and even when you do, that disappears really quickly on a really fat home page. It's got tons of content. So now if I want to connect with you, I've got to scroll all the way down to the bottom and see whether or not you've bothered to put your phone number in the footer, which probably you haven't, or I need to scroll all the way back up and find that phone number up at the top. Hopefully it's there. So yes, there are ways to do this, Alex. And what this means is it doesn't mean you can't have a big homepage on a desktop experience, but you do need to think about redesigning that and having a mobile-specific experience on a mobile device. And this is really all focused around getting the conversions right.
Awesome. Thanks for the answer. Conrad, I don't happen to have our future webinar list. Do you have that handy? Maybe throw some of those topics out, see what people would like to I know we were talking about some analytic training. We were talking about basic SEO, some on-page optimization. What else were we thinking about discussing?
I think a lot of this breaks into a couple of different categories. One is reporting, tracking, and business, right? What do we do? How can you go beyond listening to the best practices in theory and actually start generating actionable math in terms of your site? That becomes very, very important. And that's really the only stuff we do that is kind of hard as an agency. The rest of the stuff we do it all the time, so it's pretty easy. But getting that business stuff, getting to a point where I can say, I'm spending this amount of money on this channel, and it's delivering clients at $400 a client or $700 a client or $4,000 a client, being able to have the infrastructure to report on that, it's kind of hard, but it's the only way to do this right. That's one, and there's a series around that. I also think we should be talking about local. Local is a big mess, and it is very, very important. It is still very spammy. It's very convoluted. Local is a mess, and it's very easy to get yourself in a mess within local. And by local, I mean when I do a search, am I getting those mapped results? And that falls heavily into the mobile as well. But those mapped results, the algo that pushes that is completely different or mostly different from the algo that pushes natural search results. So what do we do about that? So local becomes very important. Understanding SEO, just foundational stuff. What is an H1 tag? How do I look at my site to determine whether we've got multiple H1 tags? How do we address, there's a whole bunch of basic SEO principles, link building, etc. And so I think it falls into those types of categories. There's kind of the business stuff, there's local search, there's natural search, and that's what I would break things down in. And,
Great.
oh, and the other one is topical stuff, like what we're talking about right now. Like doorway pages, like this is doorway page algorithm update coming. What does that mean, right? Like what should I be prepared for that?
Excellent. Well, I don't think we have any questions. I'll be emailing out the presentation, but if you do have any questions or requests for content, please let us know. Again, if your website's still not responsive, let Conrad or I know. You need help with SEO, content. We're here to help. Any questions, feel free to shoot us an email. We're always available. I know Conrad's a little busier, but we'll definitely touch base and see how we might be able to help. Again, I hope to see you guys when we're at Lawyeronomics, if any of you are going. If not, sign up and we'll see what we can talk about, what we learn at AVO, and we'll bring all that information directly to you. Thanks again. Have a happy Friday.
I think at AVO you might learn that you should advertise on AVO.
Right. I think that is part of the marketing strategy of AVO to invite all these people to Lawyeronomics. But we'll see if you're not speaking at Lawyeronomics this year, right?
I'm not speaking, no. No, but I don't know if you know this, but the original Lawyeronomics, which was called Avocating back in 2010, 11.
I think I was still in high school.
You were so well. I put that on. That was one of my early roles at AVO was putting on those early Lawyeronomics, which were called Avocating at the time.
Nice.
So it's cool to see how that thing has grown.
It has, for sure. All right, gang. Well, thanks again. Happy Friday. It is my wedding anniversary, so I have to go buy my wife a gift.
Is that why you were late? You're gonna throw that out there?
Yeah. I apologize for being late. Thank you all.